Hi, it's Jane, and I have not done a whole lot of crocheting. This week I did do a couple of hats to go into the Operation Christmas Child boxes at our church. We are having a packing party on the 20th, which our Awana group is going to help with it, so some of us are making things like that. You know, I did the one day where I sat and I braided a bunch of ropes, and I will insert a couple of pictures here, the things that I have made. And then I have been focusing on making just, working with some of the things I have. Beads. I have beads, so I've been making beaded bracelets, beaded necklace that will go into the older girls' boxes, and a set of beaded bracelet and necklace. Done a couple of those, and those are already in some of the boxes that I have been working on. And I had made the little hedgehog, the fidget hedgehog, with pink, and I guess I should get him upside right. And there he is, or she is. And this is not going into a box this year, but I am planning on making them to go into boxes for next year. So I'm starting a tote with just the fidget hedgehogs, hats, some bracelets, things like that. I still have to put together fishing kits. I have a couple of things for fishing kits. And I will tell you, a lot of people will use the prescription bottles, and if you use CVS prescription bottles, those labels are extremely hard to get off of their bottles. It is possible, but it's a lot of work. And one of the best methods I've found is to actually take boiling water and put it on the inside of those pill bottles. Let it sit for a while, about 10 minutes, and then put the cap on, and then use a hair dryer to blow onto it to help get the rest of it off. There is still sticky residue, and of course the sticky residue, to work that off, you can use a one-to-one of any kind of cooking oil and baking soda, I believe, baking soda. Yeah. And you make a mixture of that, and you put that on there, and you just keep rubbing, and all that gunk will come off eventually. However, it's a lot of work. But throughout the years, I have always used, especially when Dollar Tree came into being, is I had started using these Vaseline, the baby petroleum jelly, because I like the smell of it. And I use that to mix with my lotions for my feet and elbows and hands, especially in the winter because they get really dry. So those labels come off easily, and then it's real easy to wash the inside of it. These are great to use for fishing kits too. So I save those throughout the year to use those for fishing kits. So that's another idea for the Operation Christmas Child. And of course I got tons of beads, all kinds of beads. And I do take and make a bead kit for the older girls, and sometimes for the 5 to 9, which I generally put in either some elastic thread or some of the elastic that you can purchase, like Walmart and I do go to Joann's many times and get the Stretch Magic. Um, I just prefer that stretch elastic over all the others. But, you know, put in some hemp so they can make some necklaces and whatnot with it. And generally I will put in a smaller baggie on a piece of felt. I will also include a beading needle and or a needle that will go through the eye of the beads. Now this one, these are wooden beads, and so a darning needle will go through those, or I think sometimes you can get them DMC embroidery, which I don't know why they're embroidery, because they're not sharp needles. Size 16. Those kind of correlate with the darning needles that we can use for yarn, and those eyes will fit through these beads most of the time. Just check if you're making kits. But it's just a fun way to give them something to do, and generally I include a bracelet with that. Other kits that you can make are friendship kits, friendship bracelet kits. There are a lot of groups on Facebook that have printables that you can print out that show people how to braid or make the friendship bracelets. And they're just pictures. No words, just pictures. And you could always take and make a couple of friendship bracelets along the way for those kids. My thing is trying to get our teens in our church to make those year round. And then just to deposit them, we have a room that we have dubbed the OCC room while we're in season. And to ask them to just drop those into, like a sandwich baggie and then into a box so that we can start getting those things ready for next year. And most of the kids are pretty okay with doing it. So those are a couple of ideas that you can use for Operation Christmas Child. Now, I am going to move on, and you can use pony beads too, because I do the same thing with pony beads. String, that kind of thing, cording. I do have a lot of size number 2 nylon cord, and generally what I will do is I will either cut it off and dip the ends in freight check so they don't start unraveling, or I will burn the ends, melt the ends, and then they can use those to put through beads as well. So I do a lot of that. I was doing a lot of macrame beading in the past, so I do have a lot of cords. And you can make a lot of necklaces without a lot of beading tools. You don't necessarily need to have beading necklaces that you have clasps on them. So, if you do that, you can make clasps. You can put clasps on them. You can create a clasp if you're good with wire. And I've done all that stuff in the past, so I do know how to do that. You can get memory wire and just string beads on it and make bracelets. You know how to work the memory wire so that the ends don't stay open. It's just a matter of twisting and curling the ends of those wires with a memory wire. So, there's a lot of ways you can do things with the crafts that you have around your home, those kind of things. I do know that some of the ladies will, throughout the year, when they see the small cross-stitch kits, embroidery kits that are on sale, a lot of the ladies will purchase those while they're on sale using also coupons at Joann. And I have one lady that brings in about, say, 20 to 30 boxes each year when we do Operation Christmas Child. And we had asked her And a couple of us had asked her, and I do this year round anyway, and I have a couple of totes that I toss everything into, where you just watch the sales end caps and purchase things that are discounted deeply, like at Halloween, the end of Christmas, after Thanksgiving, Easter. Many of those stuffed toys that Walmart and Target have, they will mark down to like 75% off. And generally I will pick up those kind of stuffed toys, toss them into a tote so that they can be included in boxes when we're filling boxes. So those are some ways that you can do that. I know last year, and I cannot remember the brand of doll that they had at Walmart. It was, I think, a set of 12 pretty good sized dolls. They're about 11 inches. And they will fit in the box. The box inside dimensions are 11.5 by 7.5, I believe. But they would purchase those sets of 10 of those dolls, and then they would purchase organza bags off of Amazon and place 2 dolls in it and maybe make some outfits for them later on. Crocheted, knitted, sewn, those kind of things for the girls, the older girls. You can do the same thing with baby dolls, those kind of things. But yeah, that's kind of what they've done for some of the Operation Christmas Child. And, if you're shopping those dollar deals at Dollar General, and even Dollar Tree has quite a great gift. They have some blocks in there. I believe the name of them are lock blocks. They have a box that you can actually purchase to put your lock boxes in. A woman I know talks about how you can get several of those sets, plus a couple of the figurines at Dollar Tree, and that box, and place them all into the little lock block. And she does quite a few of those for what she calls her wow gift. And a wow gift is just something when they pull it out, they go, wow. And of course, we never know what their wow gift is. Their wow gift may be that you sent a spiral notebook. I mean, you never know what their wow gift is. So, yeah, those are some things that I've done in the past. Okay. Now, and are currently creating throughout the year. I'm going to turn to something that I am finding very disturbing in our culture. I understand there are a lot of people that are very disappointed, depressed over the election results, and if they had been the opposite, I would have been the same way. I think it's important to extend them a little bit of grace. But here's where the grace stops. A lot of these, if you follow TikTok, I don't know that Instagram is doing a lot of these, but I haven't been on Instagram in the last week. But on TikTok, there are a lot of people that are doing what they call the 4B movement. Now, the 4B movement was something totally different. What they are using today, there was in South Korea, there were a lot of women that did not have voting rights. They didn't have a lot of other kind of rights, and it also had to do with their work day, because they worked what they call 9-9-6, which is 9 to 9 in the morning to the evening, 6 days a week, which, here in the U.S., it's normally what we consider 9-5-5, which is 9 to 5 for 5 days a week, and they only had 1 day off. And the women did not have a lot of rights. Voting, there were just a ton of rights that the women in South Korea did not have. So they had started a movement where they were refusing to have sex with their husbands. They shaved their heads and what was some of the other things they did? They refused to work until they got some of the rights that they now have in South Korea. So there are a lot of people on the left, women, that are following that, taking up that. They're tattooing little hearts, either on the inside of the wrist, their thumbs, the middle finger, some of those things, or a blue bracelet on their wrist. Some of them are calling to divorce their husbands, to abstain from sex for the next 4 years, which quite frankly is what conservatives really was hoping that a lot of these women would do, so that there would be unwanted pregnancies. And now you're doing it. So those are some things. But the things that, I just kind of laugh and like, well, whatever you think gives you empowerment. Okay, you can do that kind of thing. But this last one is a step beyond. And I'm kind of going to read it to you. And it's something that they're calling aqua tofana. They're calling for this right now. And if you go to TikTok, you'll see a lot of those videos if you just put in the search bar aqua tofana. And for those of you that don't know history, I'm going to give you a little bit about it. Aqua tofana was a powerful poison created around 1630 in Sicily by Julia Tofana. It was known for being odorless, colorless, tasteless, making it difficult to detect. It was often sold disguised as a cosmetic or perfume, which added to its deceptive nature. The historical use of this poison was primarily sold to women in abusive or forced marriages, enabling them to kill their husbands discreetly. It is estimated that aqua tofana was responsible for the deaths of around 600 men. It is composed of quite a few things. Hang on. Like arsenic, lead, belladonna, those kind of things. And sometimes it took the husbands anywhere from maybe a week to up to a year to die. And a lot of women use it as a symbol of empowerment, resilience, but most especially for those that were seeking a escape from abusive relationships. So now there are a lot of women that are actually calling for this to happen again, but not only against men, their husbands, men who voted for Trump, but also anyone who voted for Trump. And there's something evil about you if you have determined that that is necessary. And there's something wrong with you in the head. You are not mentally stable, and you probably need to seek mental health care for that. But not only that, those women that are actually posting that, nowadays in high schools, if you threaten another student with beating them up, killing them or anything like that, that is considered now a terroristic threat. So I'm not sure how you are avoiding that threat and not people are not calling you out for a 72-hour mental health hold, which you should be if you are advocating for that. But it's just an election, people. Jesus. It'll be another one. And you've not lost a single right. Not a single right. You know, it bothers me. There are women all over the world that don't even have the ability to speak out loud in front of men, or they'd be stoned to death. They have to have their faces covered. They can't go out unless they have a male with them. They can't drive unless there's a male that drives them. They can't get mammograms without their husband's permission, or seek health care without their husband's permission. So, women, we've not lost a single right in our country to this day. Not a single right. You still have the right to go for an abortion if you use the over-the-counter pill. Yes, you can obtain it over the counter. You don't need a prescription. You just go in and ask your pharmacist for it, and you can get it out. Abortion has not been criminalized, nor has it been taken away. The only thing that has happened is states have the rights to choose what they want for their states, and their constituents vote on it. Some of those states had to clarify things. But there is no state in this country where abortion is outlawed. None. None. So you've not lost that right at all. So, and you know, our culture nowadays, they have this thing where it's like a hookup culture. Sorry about the sun coming in. Where it's basically a hookup culture where you sleep with anybody and everybody without any repercussions. And folks, simple biology tells you if a male and female get together, there's a possibility of pregnancy. So, you know, if you're going to participate in that, you know, as I used to tell my boys, because it was the height of AIDS at the time that they were teens, if they were going to have sex, that they needed to double rubber it. And that had to do with AIDS. We talked about the consequences of having sex, premarital sex, when they were younger, and about the possibility that there could be a pregnancy that would be unwanted. So they needed to be very wise. They were going to choose to have sex with someone. I preferred that they would wait until they were married. But my boys made their choices, and yeah. So, but, you know, simple science tells us male, female get together, have sex, especially if it's unprotected sex. There is a possibility of STDs, a pregnancy. So, and I don't know why women don't understand that. And the way that our schools are teaching, I clearly don't understand why they don't understand that, because they get a better sex education than what I got in school. So, you know, come on, folks. It just seems rather crazy, if you ask me, some of the things that these women are calling for. And I do find that y'all aren't well. So, like I said, and we're already hearing about how even the rhinos are wanting to have they've never done this before, chosen a speaker, the leader of the Senate, those kind of things. And now they're doing that beforehand in hopes to get someone who will resist this president and some of the things he has proposed, wants to do. Do I think that he's going to actually do what was done to him, lawfare, against opponents and those kind of things? No, I don't think so. If you're watching what he is doing in building his cabinet, he has the first woman chief of staff ever in history, and that is Susie Wiles. And she is a very prominent person, and I think she will probably do well as the chief of staff if she has accepted that position. Do we know who else is going to be in his cabinet? No. Do I feel like he is going to put RFJK into his cabinet and Tulsi Gabbard? I do, and I hope so. We do know that Nikki Haley and Pompeo will not be anywhere near his cabinet. He has chosen for his transition team not to have any of the lobbyists on it, which I think is fantastic. And in the past, they've always had lobbyists on their transition teams. Every candidate who has been the president-elect. So I'm thrilled that they're not having lobbyists on any of their transition teams. He has also opened up a website where he's asking for people's opinion, for you to voice your opinion about what he is talking about, some of the things he wants to suggest. Recently, I heard that he wants to do a Digital Fairness Act, I guess you would call it, so that if companies are shadow banning you, like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, social media, that they have to let you know and they have to tell you why, so that you can fight it. And if you don't know what shadow banning is, you should go look it up. There have been a lot of content creators across all of these social platforms who have been demonetized because they are more conservative than others. And quite frankly, that's wrong. In our country, we still have freedom of speech, and that is something that President-elect Trump believes in completely. A lot of you have talked about that he's a convicted felon, rapist. I've seen that a lot. And maybe you need to go look at those court cases, because he was not convicted of rape at all. In fact, there was no evidence provided in that court case. The main thing that they gave the judgment to Ms. Carroll on was supposedly about the slander that she said he had done, yet she couldn't provide a single proof except one section in a book that she wrote talking about what he had said. So, and that case is already in appeal. I would imagine it's going to be completely appealed. The court case with the 34 things of fraud, it's already gone to the 5th District Court, and they are considering a judgment on it. And if you listen to the court case, those lawyers that had brought these charges up on Trump were begging the 5th District not to sanction them, because basically those questions led to, you didn't have the right to bring these charges. The company that he had gone with for the loan was perfectly satisfied with it. They didn't bring these charges. These are basically charges that the state in New York City had changed in order to bring a case against him. They did determine that the cases in Florida, that's already been dropped about the supposedly classified documents. If you don't know that when a president leaves office, the incoming president is the one that sends those documents to the past president. So there you have it. And many of those were already declassified. And then they came back in and reclassified them. So, you need to be up on these things. You need to follow things constantly instead of just during an election year. And I need to change my battery because the battery's flashing. All right, hang on a second. And I will tell you, my actual choice for president when the elections were going on was for RFJK Jr., but you Democrats took him out, and so then I had to start looking for other candidates. I knew that I did not want Biden in for a second term. Didn't want him in for the first term, I'll be honest. Just because some of the things that he was calling for that I thought would hurt our country. So, sometimes we have to choose the lesser of two evils, and I chose the lesser of two evils that I thought. And your choice may have been different, and that's fine. And you don't have to agree on everything. It's like buttholes. We all got one. So, But I just think some of you on the left have gone too far. You need mental health. You really do. All right. Are you ready for a little what in Tarnation now that I've had that little bit of a rant? Suspected tar balls on Sydney beaches actually poop-filled fatbergs. Never even heard of that, have you? Mysterious black balls that washed up on Sydney, Australia beaches were initially suspected to be tar balls, but turned out to be miniature fatbergs containing human feces. The black balls were first spotted on Bondi Beach on October the 16th, and similar balls were found on other city beaches in the ensuing days. New South Wales environmental officials said they were initially suspected to be tar balls, resulting from an unknown oil spill. Which, if you don't understand, even in the ocean, there are pressurized areas in there and oil leaks up into the ocean. That happens. With the waves and the way the currents will work up, they will turn it into tar, and it is washed up on beaches anyway. But testing has now confirmed they contain cooking oil, soap scum, industrial chemicals, drug residue, hair, and human feces. Researchers said the balls are miniature fatbergs, sewer-blocking accumulations of fat, grease, and sewage. They smell absolutely disgusting. They smell worse than anything you have ever smelled. No doubt. He said the contents of the balls pointed us to sewage and other sources of urban effluent as their source. Sydney Water said officials are not aware of any issues with the city's wastewater. The New South Wales Environmental Protection Authority is continuing to investigate. And I'm sure a lot of it is sewage that's been spilled out into our rivers, our lakes, you name it. Just there. All right, dangling fox rescued from wooden fence in Texas. Animal rescuers in Texas came to the assistance of a fox that apparently attempted to scale a wooden fence and ended up dangling by its caught leg. The Austin Animal Center said on social media that animal protection officers responded to an address where a fox was found with its back leg stuck in a fence. Thankfully, there was a table right there, so not all the weight was on its leg. It's probably a good thing. Otherwise, he might have broken it in the struggle trying to get free. The Animal Center said the fox is currently at a wildlife rescue and will get a thorough examination from a veterinarian before being released back into the wild. The center said members of the public did the right thing by not attempting to help the fox themselves, as Texas state law mandates that any foxes that come into physical contact with unauthorized humans must be euthanized and tested for rabies. It is important to remember that foxes are a high-risk rabies species. For the health of yourself and the animal, please do not touch it. And of course, you all know about Peanut and Fred. They were confiscated on the call of a woman who was scared that these animals might have rabies. And unfortunately, the New York State did some rather crazy things. Apparently, when they went in to confiscate and raid, since this squirrel was basically a free-range squirrel in the home, when they caught the squirrel, one of the people was bit, and instead of putting it in quarantine for 10 days, they chose to put them down to test them for rabies. And that is the only way you can actually test for rabies, is to euthanize the animal and then do a study of their brain to see if they did have rabies. The other way is to put them in quarantine and watch them for the next 10 days to see if they show symptoms of it, which rabies progresses pretty fast. So if they'd had rabies, they would have already seen that if they had done that, which I think they should do that from now on. Bear steals candy pumpkin from Connecticut porch. A black bear with a sweet tooth visited the front porch of a Connecticut home to raid a bowl of Halloween candy and steal a pumpkin. Crystal Cook shared security camera footage showing the bear taking the bowl of Halloween candy she left out for trick-or-treaters last week and settling down to enjoy the snack in front of her porch. Cook told WFSB-TV the bear missed the just take one rule. She said the bear also raided some snacks she leaves out for delivery drivers and ended up taking one of her family's pumpkins. And then also there was a Nashville woman that recorded a similar scene, which we saw last week, of the 3 young bears doing the same thing and feasting on her pumpkins. South Carolina. If you don't know, there are 2 facilities in South Carolina. One of them is the Morgan Island facility, where they used to raise rhesus monkeys because India, I think it was in the 1960s, maybe 70s, quit selling rhesus monkeys to the U.S. for different studies, biological studies. So they developed this area in Morgan, South Carolina that then they abandoned, and the monkey population is out of control in that area, shall we say. And so there are tons of monkeys in that area. But the other place in South Carolina, they have a facility in Yamasee. I think that's how you pronounce it. So let's get into it. 43 monkeys on the loose after escaping South Carolina facility. Police in a small South Carolina town are warning residents to keep their doors and windows locked after 43 monkeys escaped from a research facility. The Yamasee Police Department issued an alert on social media confirming that 43 primates had escaped Wednesday night from the Alpha Genesis facility in Beaufort County. Residents are strongly advised to keep doors and windows secured to prevent these animals from entering homes. If you spot any of the escaped animals, please contact 911 immediately and refrain from approaching them. Bioresearch company Alpha Genesis works with cynomolgus, rhesus, and capuchin monkeys. Police said in Thursday update that the escaped monkeys were rhesus macaques. The escaped primates were young females that have not been used for any testing and do not carry any disease. Alpha Genesis employees currently have eyes on the primates and are working to entice them with food. Alpha Genesis was awarded a federal contract in 2023 to oversee the 3,500 rhesus monkeys living on South Carolina's Morgan Island, which is commonly called Monkey Island. And if you don't know, if you have ever had a squirrel or a raccoon loose in a home, they are extremely destructive, and monkeys are extremely destructive. They will tear things up like nobody's business. Plus, if you've ever been to the zoo and seen them, they will fling their poo everywhere. All right, this last one I find rather interesting. Truck spills load of energy drinks along Nebraska highway. Can you imagine the animals and the birds or whatever may have got into that from that spill? How they might react? The side of a Nebraska highway was littered with hundreds of boxes of energy drinks after a semi-truck overturned and wound up in a ditch. Officer Mike Bossman, a spokesman for the Omaha Police Department, said on social media that the semi overturned on eastbound Interstate 80 near 84th Street and ended up in a ditch next to the road. Bossman shared a photo showing the area littered with hundreds of boxes of C4 energy drinks. Said the shoulder of the road would be blocked while crews worked to clean up the mess. Traffic is starting to pick up, so please pay attention. This will be a prolonged cleanup operation. And that is it. For What in Tarnation this week. Now, I know that I did not do a lot of talking about crochet, knitting, any kind of crafting, those kind of things. And I will get back to it next week, along with some of the other things that I've been doing. But let's move on to the devotional. And I do apologize for it, but, you know, I don't withhold my opinions. I have very strong opinions, and I'm not afraid to discuss them. So some of you may not be comfortable with that, and I understand that. But, you know, that's just the way I roll. Promises from God's heart when you are weak and weary. Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. All of you, take up my yoke and learn from me, because I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for yourselves. Matthew 11:28-29. Remember your word to your servant. You have given me hope through it. This is my comfort in all my affliction. Your promise has given me life. Psalm 119:49-50. I keep the Lord in mind always because he is at my right hand. I will not be shaken. Therefore my heart is glad and my spirit rejoices. My body also rests securely. Psalm 16:8-9. This is one of my favorites. My grace is sufficient for you, for power is perfected in weakness. Therefore I will most gladly boast all the more about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may reside in me. And that was Paul speaking in 2 Corinthians 12:1. For the moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. Therefore, lift your drooping hands and strengthen your weak knees, and make straight paths for your feet, so that what is lame may not be put out of joint, but rather be healed. Hebrews 12:11. So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. Galatians 6:9. And that is it for today's video. And I will see you again next week and sometime during the week. But in the meantime, everybody have a great week. And remember, there will be another election in 4 years. We'll see you then. Bye.